Good evening and welcome. I am Amarachi Ubani. Tonight, security operatives prevent a procession of Bring Back Our Girls group from marching to the presidential villa. Lassa fever resurfaces in Asaba, the Delta State capital. Health authorities confirm deaths of a medical doctor. Federal government seeks the support of Islamic Development Bank towards attainment of financial inclusion and economic diversification. And the U.S. Secretary of State John Kerry begins his tour of African countries with visits to Kenya. He's expected in Nigeria tomorrow.
On business news tonight, the Director General of the Bureau for Public Service Reforms lists changes in ministries and agencies since the beginning of President Buhari's administration.
And in sports news, Guinea-Bissau cleared to compete in its first ever Africa Cup of Nations after CAF rejects Zambia's appeal over players' eligibility.
I'm Linda Kibe, and from Abuja. Transition Monitoring Group advocates establishment of an Election Offences Commission to address inconclusive elections.
We begin tonight in Abuja, the federal capital, where security operatives today prevented a peaceful procession of the Bring Back Our Girls group from reaching the presidential villa. Also among the protesters were the suspended Nigerian Immigration Service recruits who have been demanding reinstatement. The procession, on its way to see the president and demand an update on the abducted Chibok girls, was stopped at Independence Avenue by security personnel who said they were acting under strict orders. Our correspondent Ibrahim Adra reports.
– 861 days after, the tears still flow from a distraught mother, Esther Yakubu. She is the mother of Maida, one of the missing Chibok girls shown in the latest Boko Haram video. Esther would rather call her Dorcas, which is her original name. Amidst her sobs, she narrates her ordeal.
The president promised us on the 19th of May. He said that the fight against terror will not be over unless the Chibok girls are back. And they are celebrating that they are over with the terrors. After all, the girls are not back. It's unfair.
That video is at the heart of this procession by the Bring Back Our Girls campaigners. For them, the video is proof that the missing Chibok girls are still alive. Here, they join forces with immigration recruit protesters who have been on the road protesting in the last 3 days. The procession came to an abrupt stop when they came face to face with an armed barricade. The peaceful protesters were undeterred. They adopted Plan B, hold their activities right there with the police maintaining vigilance. The campaigners say the latest video on the revelation of rescued Amina Ali earlier in May should have inspired a decisive action to rescue the remaining missing girls. They have this advice for President Muhammadu Buhari's government.
Swiftly pursue the lowest risk option to rescue or secure the release of our Chibok girls.
While the recruits are asking for unconditional reinstatement, the Bring Back Our Girls campaign are saying only bringing back the girls will satisfy them. Now, how soon that would happen, only time will tell. Ibrahim Adra, Channels Television News.
Meanwhile, about 300 members of Boko Haram sect have been killed in an air operation by the Nigerian Air Force. This figure was ruled out today by the Chief of Air Staff, Air Marshal Sadiq Abubakar, while addressing men of the Nigerian Air Force involved in an anti-insurgency operation in the northeast in Maiduguri, the capital of Borno State. Air Marshal Abubakar is also assuring Nigerians that the Air Force now has the capacity to attack both in the day and at night, adding that the insurgents have no more hiding place.
Of particular note, the operation you conducted on, when was it? 19th of this month. It was a night operation, and we're very lucky to deal with these guys who had amassed somewhere. We are planning to go out to commit evil. But luckily, we are very happy to note that about 300 of them will not be available to commit any evil again. But for once, deal with them. We want to urge others in their own interests to surrender their rifles, their weapons, come out, hand over themselves, and face justice.
Staying with security, an attack by suspected Boko Haram members have left about 11 people dead in Kubwa village of Borno State. The attackers are also reported to have abducted some women, but the exact number of those abducted are not known. Spokesperson of the vigilante group of Nigeria, Abbas Gava, who confirmed the attack to journalists in Maiduguri, the state capital, says the attack happened on Sunday night. Mr. Gava adds that many people fled into the bushes during the attack and have not returned to the village since then. Kubwa village is close to Chibok, where over 200 girls were kidnapped in 2014. The Department of State Services says it has arrested a man, Mr. Ihoje Moses, for allegedly threatening the diplomatic community. A press statement by the DSS says that Mr. Moses threatened particularly the Consular Generals of Switzerland and Denmark and their embassies in Nigeria, warning them to leave the country. The statement adds that the DSS also arrested a suspected spiritual leader of the Boko Haram sect in Kano, as well as 4 suspected members of the terrorist group in Kaduna State. Return now to a pressing health issue. Delta State has recorded a fresh case of Lassa fever in Asaba, the state capital. The Commissioner of Health, Dr. Nicholas Azinge, confirmed the new case and the death of a medical doctor. Meanwhile, the doctor's wife is said to have tested negative, while 32 others he had contact with have been quarantined and put under surveillance.
18th of August, we had a case report from a doctor of ours working in Bon, who was admitted in a hospital in Bonsac with symptoms of fever, headache, and bleeding from his orifice. The patient was not able to be taken care of at the hospital in Bonsac and was transferred to Nnamdi Azikiwe Hospital in Nnewi. Patient was confirmed certified dead a couple of hours on arrival. Blood samples taken from the patient to Irua confirmed positive for Lassa fever. So far, the immediate contacts of the patient who will classify, of the doctor, will classify into 3. One is the immediate contacts, which are as follows. The driver that drove him to Nnewi has been put under quarantine, and the wife of the doctor. Fortunately, the wife of the doctor's samples have been taken to Irua, and she is confirmed negative.
Meanwhile, the Anambra State government says there is no outbreak of Lassa fever in the state, rather a referral case of a doctor brought in from Delta State. According to the Commissioner for Health, Dr. Joe Akabuike, although the late doctor is from Anambra State, he carried out his practice in Asaba, the Delta State capital, and was referred to the Nnamdi Azikiwe Teaching Hospital, Nnewi, on August 15th, but died after 3 hours of management. With regards to contact tracing, Dr. Akabuike explains that 19 people are currently on low risk, with other 2 on high risk, but they are permanently on surveillance. Public health physician and president of the Association of Medical Officers of Health in Nigeria, Dr. Yahaya Disu, joins me now to discuss the recent cases of Lassa fever in the country. Thank you, Doctor, for joining us tonight on the news. The cases of Lassa fever seem to have reduced in the last 4 months. Over 100 people lost their lives with the first outbreak between August and last year and April this year. In that outbreak, they recorded over 170 cases. What could have accounted for this new outbreak?
We need to realize the fact that Nigeria, with Sierra Leone and Liberia, are endemic for Lassa fever occurrence. So it's not surprising that we are having this outbreak, considering the fact that a couple of months ago we were battling to control these epidemics. So this virus is around us, and we have these rats living in our homes and in our environments, and these rats harbor this virus, and this particular type of rat we call multi-mammoth rats. So they're always around, and once a rat is infected, and it carries the virus for life. So it's not surprising. The only thing is we need to be watchful, and particularly healthcare workers need to be very, very careful in terms of infection prevention and control measures when they are dealing with patients.
So the new outbreak, could it be attributed to maybe a lack of, not awareness though, but a lack of, maybe a lack of awareness, and perhaps health workers also dropping the ball, perhaps, and people not remembering, what had happened?
That could be a factor, but the important thing is sometimes we feel the outbreak is gone. So we just throw caution to the wind and we relax. So, and which ought not to be. It's just like saying malaria. Malaria has always been with us. And then when you have cases of fever, you always suspect malaria, even though you still have to do laboratory tests to confirm this. So I think this is the way we should see other infectious diseases like Lassa fever and other viral hemorrhagic diseases that could come up at any time.
But is there a period of time in the year when it is more prevalent?
Yes, during dry season, especially when bush burning is very rampant, and then you have a lot of rats that are displayed, they now come into the homes, and then they have contact with human beings, especially the food that we eat. So around dry season, this is very, very common. But this is rainy season. And the mere fact that we're experiencing climate change, so you cannot really say this is a dry season in the year, or this is wet season. But the important thing is for us to be vigilant and to be ever prepared.
Could you very quickly run through the symptoms of Lassa fever for the sake of our viewers? I mean, we're trying to create awareness once again about the disease. How does it present itself?
Usually it has non-specific symptoms. The symptoms could look like that of malaria, typhoid, pneumonia, and so on. They're like fever, headache, body pains, and then sometimes vomiting and diarrhea could occur. And then in the late stage, you can have bleeding from different parts of the body, like from the nostrils, from the mouth, from the ears, and even from the skin. So
that's pretty much like Ebola.
Exactly. And then again, it could also cause multi-organ failure. That is, can affect the kidneys, the liver, the lungs, and that is usually what results in death of the patient.
Dr. Yahaya Disu, thank you so much for joining us tonight on the News at 10.
Thank you.
In part two, after the break, Ondo State's immediate past Attorney General, Eyitayo Jegede, emerges as flag bearer of the McCarthy-led PDP faction in the forthcoming governorship election. We'll have more when we return.